Welcome to Global Success Stories. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. This is my privilege and honor to welcome all of you in this Success Story Show. And I'm doing this Success Stories event by inviting different people and different personalities from across the world. The first reason is I would like to learn from them, and secondly, how I can be inspired at the same time, how I can help other people to learn from this life of these people. Thank you. Those who are just joining with me from different part of the world. Mr. Jia Muhammad, Mr. Krazimi, who is joining from Germany. Welcome to this program. Krazimi, how are you doing? I hope you are doing very well. And I see a lot of people are joining from different part of the world. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Sophia. It's my pleasure and privilege to have you the other day, and thank you for joining with me today as well. So welcome. And today I have a very exciting guest, and in a short while I'll be introducing with you my guest. And let me welcome some of you, those are just joining from different part of the world. Mr. Fazil Mahmood, welcome to the Global Success Stories. Mr. Majed, thank you for joining with me. Mr. Liton Majumdar, thank you for joining with me. Mr. Jia Mahmood, thank you for joining with me. Yes, my today's guest, I'll be introducing you shortly. My today's guest is actually joining from USA, Madison. Welcome to Global Success Stories. And let me introduce you, Dr. Madison is a professor of business, executive trainer, and leadership consultant. He is an internationally certified speaker and trainer with the John Maxwell Team and the director of MBA program at Northern Michigan University in the United States. Dr. Madison brings together his experience in training business professionals and his leadership experience to add value to people around the world. Having held several leadership positions in the past 20 years, Dr. Madison has been involved in leadership development in Africa, Europe, and America. And it's my privilege and honor to bring in these success stories and to understand the leadership of his style, that what he's doing and contributing in different part of the world. Welcome, Dr. Madison, to Global Success Stories. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you, Cameroon. I'm doing very well, and thank you for having me on your platform. It's an honor to be here with you today and just to share and chat and have this exchange. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And as you have been doing this leadership and transformational work across the world, particularly in Africa and also in Europe, so you have been doing the country transformation work, as far as I know, in different part of Africa. So recently you have been to, originally you are from Cameroon, now you're staying in America, and you have been doing this country transformation work in different countries in Africa. Like you have been to Cameroon, Ghana, Nigeria, and helping the government leadership to transform their nations. So I'm really interested to know about the nation's transformation work that you are doing. So can you also take us through the work you are contributing for the nation's development?
Well, let me begin by just saying a little bit about my story, so that when I begin to talk about that, it makes some little bit of sense. Can I do that?
Yeah, sure. This is the first thing.
All right, thank you so much.
Just a second, so, Madison. Sound. Someone is saying that sound. Can you hear me clearly, Madison, right now? Earlier,
yes, I can hear
sound.
You very well.
Yeah. Okay. So anyone, if you're not hearing me clearly, someone is saying we can't hear from guests, but I can hear Madison, Mr. Jia Mahmood, and I would look forward some others' opinion whether any issues regarding sound or not. Whether any issues, but I can hear my guests very clearly.
I can hear you well too.
Thank you. So the sound of guest is low. Your sound is, it seems low because some of the feedback comments I'm getting is actually low.
Okay.
So
Okay,
can you can you
just a
can you
second
use
here.
the yeah, can you use the headphone?
Just give me a second here.
Sure, please.
Hello.
Yes, I think this is better. This is much better. This is much better.
Okay, so you can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now, loud and clear. So, please introduce yourself as well, your life, your work, and the transformational work you are doing. Definitely, we are interested also to hear those stories. But before that, who Dr. Medicine is?
All right. So I am a son of Africa. Was born in Cameroon in a little village.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up, fetching for water in the stream. So I would carry, calabash and go to the stream and take away all the algae and all of the things that used to grow around in order to get water for my grandmom and my grandfather, whom I grew up with. So I'm an African boy. I grew up quite in a very humble beginnings. Um, and as I was growing up in about 1993, when I was a high school student, something very dramatic happened in my life, which was that I came to realize that Almighty God, who had created me, gave me potential. I came to understand that I am a man with a purpose. I came to understand that there is a reason why I am here. And that, encounter in 1993 turned my life around as a high school student, just finishing my high school to get into university.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I got into university, I got very intentional with my life and just everything that had to do with my life. Now, I was very fortunate in university to encounter the teachings of a great man by the name of Dr. Miles Monroe. He's out of the Bahamas. In fact, he passed away just a few years back.
Mm-hmm.
And when I listened to this guy, this man challenged me with something that he said in one of his great teachings, and that is what sparked off something very extraordinary in my life. And he said that the graveyard is the richest spot on the earth. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, what is this man talking about? Graveyard, richest spot. What is that all about? And he said, we went further again and said, well, you see, the greatest or the richest place and the wealthiest spot on the earth, are not the oil fields of Iraq or Iran or Saudi Arabia. He said they are not even the gold mines of Brazil, not the coal mines of Australia, not even the diamond mines of the Congo. And I said, so where is that? He says, it is the graveyard. And when I listened to him, he said, it is the graveyard because, that is where every song that was not sung is found. Every house somebody intended to build and did not build is found. That's where all of the blueprints of all of the towers that were never constructed are found.
Mm-hmm.
That's where all of the dreams that were never fulfilled, that is where they are actually found. So he said that the graveyard is the richest spot on the earth.
Mm.
And this man challenged his audience on this particular day. He said, to die empty, to die empty, die having poured out our lives, having poured out ourselves, every idea possibly that you can get, every positive thing that you can do, to die having emptied yourself of all that God had put in you and your manufacturer had put in you and designed you to be able to do. And that particular thought has been the thing that has changed my life probably the most, because as I live my everyday, I began to live more intentionally, so that I can make sure that by the day I go to the grave, I do not carry with me any more ideas. I do not carry with me, the things I hoped I could have done. And so that I begin to say to myself, what I would, begin to do today what I would want to be spoken of tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I heard a great person say something to this effect that, you know, that when we leave this world, he said, and we get into the next world, he said that probably the greatest depressing thing that we will find out is when we compare what we are with what we possibly could have been, and we would be regretful. So my life has become that which I don't want to leave a regret behind. I don't want to leave my life having not done what all that I could do humanly possible to make sure that I achieve whatever I should achieve. I want to die empty. I want to die like Jesus. It's said about Jesus, the leader of the Christians, who says, he said, "It is finished." You know, I want to die having emptied, poured out my life to do the things that are passionate to me and the things that I believe I was born to do. So this has been probably the greatest driving force in my life in the past 25 years or so. The fact that I want to die empty, the fact that I want to die having done all that could be done and was humanly possible to be done. And that has become a driving force in what I do today, whether in the university or in the leadership development that I do around the world. So I wanted to just put that out, that is one of the things that is my greatest motivating factors.
Great. So it's really a great. A lot of us, we really, don't try to understand the essence of our life. And what you're saying, if I'm hearing you clearly, is that the graveyard is the best place to be motivation, right? To understand what life is, because a lot of people has gone there without realizing the potentials of life, right? A lot of people have gone there without fulfilling their life. A lot of people has gone there without taking any risk. They did not realize their life. So that is the source. That really kept you motivated, right? That really
Exactly.
gave you the meaning, that reason why we are on earth.
So in other words, it made me to refuse enriching the graveyard. It made me to deny the possibility of enriching the graveyard. The graveyard is already very rich. I don't want to further enrich it through my not living my potential and through my not living my dream.
Dr. Madison, sorry, just give me a second. My son was sleeping. You continue. Just give me 30 seconds. I'm coming back.
All right. Thank you.
I'm sorry, because it was, my boy was sleeping here and then suddenly he woke up. Sorry, just let's continue from there. This is very powerful thoughts, because this happened to, I think, most of us. Like, I would say 90% of us. Do we really take risk? Do we really come out of our life, out of our shell? Do we really know that what dream we have? And it is like, worth taking risk, worth taking step to realize the dream that we have. What's the value of life if we don't take any step to materialize our dream, and we go to the graveyard? We go silently on the graveyard, and we go without letting other people know, without letting our footprint marked on this part of the world. So that probably, this is what you're talking about, right? That's the reason that all the graveyard is actually full of a lot of industrialists, a lot of the people, those who could be world famous, a lot of millionaires that could have been, a lot of people who could have been listened, but have not, due to these not able to understand why we are here on this earth. This is very powerful, thought-provoking, and it has really resonated me as well. Please continue.
And I was looking at this, and even Nelson Mandela, who is quite an inspiration for some of us that are of African descent, he said this. He said, when a man has done what he considers to be his duty to his people and his country, he can rest in peace. So he brought to me a new definition of what it means to rest in peace. So you don't rest in peace just because you die. You rest in peace only if you had brought to the table what you consider to be your duty to your people and to your nation. That is when you rest in peace. So when I put together the inspiration that I received from Dr. Miles Monroe and the inspiration I received from people like Nelson Mandela, that it makes a lot of sense. That life is about leaving a contribution on the table. And it's not about having great degrees or having great money or having all the learning on earth. It is just to bring your own contribution, as unique as it might be, as small, as insignificant as you might think it to be, as great as you might think it is to bring that contribution to bear on humanity. When you would have done that successfully and to die empty, that is the greatest contribution you can ever make to your generation. To die empty of every idea that you possibly could have given, of every advice you possibly could have given to a friend, of all the love that you possibly could have, poured out on your family or the people that are dear and close around you. After we have done all of that and poured out our lives, then we can die like a drink offering that has been poured out, having nothing to offer any longer and having no regrets as the way we lived our lives. So that has been a great motivation for me, around, and even in what I do and even what I do around the world. I want that, I would not die having not done the number of miles, traveled how far I could have traveled, said the things that I could have said, been with the people that I could have been with, been on Global Life Stories with Mr. Cameroon Hassan that I could have been. I don't want to having that wishing that I would have done that or I could have done that. But I want to have died, said I did everything I could to live the life I should, and now I am at peace with myself and with my God.
Absolutely. I think this one thinking probably good enough to change anyone's life. This one question, is sufficient, right? I mean, to me, is actually sufficient. I think that to change the course of life, the trajectory of life, do we really think about that way? That's a great question. Since then you have been doing the things like then take us forward. Like once you realize that you don't want to leave, you want to leave empty, and you want to take every bit of chance and possibility to contribute to the humanity, to contribute to the nation's growth, to contribute for the growth of potentials of human beings on earth, the serving people. And that's in a form of leadership. And that's what you are doing today, the helping nations to transform. Can you please also help us to understand your work?
So when I graduated, I told you that I listened to this when I was in university. So I graduated, I had my first degree. I started working in the healthcare sector. I was working as a laboratory technician and worked as a dental assistant too. And later on, this passion was kept growing. And in fact, I resigned from the healthcare field and I decided to take on a full-time position leading a non-governmental organization, which was to reach young people in my country. So when I had the opportunity to be the national coordinator of this organization, was called Cameroon Youth for Jesus Ministry, and I had this opportunity to be able to go around the country, helping young people to discover purpose and to know what is it that they were called. They were called for a higher purpose that they were looking for. And I began to see that this message was resonating even with the young people, because in every human being's heart, no matter how old you are, no matter how young you are, you always feel like you were born for something big. You feel like you were born for paying, your electric bill, and born for paying a house mortgage, born for just going to work at 8 a.m., coming back at 5. Every human being feels that they were born for something bigger, something greater. And I believe that when we began to communicate this message among the young people could get it. And they were coming and they were joining us and beginning to be wanting to live a more purposeful life in a more intentional way. But one of the things that I discovered back then, when we were young, is that, the people that were being impacted were just, our peers, our families, and sometimes our teachers, because then we were in school and all of that, and so ordinary people in the community. Then I began to think about the fact that, what it would be like if we began to impact the people that truly impact our communities directly, like the leaders, and actually that is what led my journey out of my country and into the US. So I came to the US about 11 and a half years ago, to look to do a higher education. So I came here, I did my master's degree and then my PhD, and in seeking how to then I can add value to the people that I care about and the people of my nation and the people. And in going through and adding value to myself and discovering myself even more and more, I came to realize that one of the things that the Almighty has endowed in me is to be able to be a leader and to help others to lead, and so to be an influencer in the lives of others. And that is actually what now led me to start the organization that I currently lead, which is called Lead Missions International, which is a leadership organization that seeks to develop leadership potential within people that are called to lead, so that they can lead more intentionally and they can make their nations more prosperous. They can inspire their people through their leadership, and they can bring about change in the community. So that is what inspired me to begin to start to do what I now do today, and which is about the fourth year actively doing. We've been I have been, in the last 12 months alone, I've been able to do leadership training virtually in about 10 countries, but I've been able to travel physically to 6 countries, to Cameroon, to Egypt, to Burundi, to Rwanda, and to be able to practically face to face bring the message of the fact that everything, like my great mentor, Mr. John Maxwell says, everything rises and falls on leadership.
Absolutely. Everything rises to fall on leadership. And what intentional life you are leading actually. And what impactful life you also living yourself. And that's what really interests me as well to you, that the experience of helping the nations to transform is actually the immense, that as you rightly said, that every human being is actually born to do something bigger. That means the purpose is of the creating impact on others. So how fulfilling is this to you when you work this transformation work into the country to countries and helping leaders to shape their country, to helping leaders to shape the leadership journey so that they can also create impact on their nations, on their people? So how is the journey there so far?
I think it has been a rewarding journey, because of the one thing is that there is a light that breaks forth from every heart when they know, when they come to know that they matter, when they come to know that they are significant. There is a light that shines through every heart when they come to know that they are not an accident, that they are here on purpose. And when they begin to live as people, men and women on a mission, there is something that happens deep within. And that is the kind of thing that we want people to know. For instance, let me just say this. It's difficult to imagine a free India without Mahatma Gandhi. It is impossible to imagine a current day South Africa without the contributions of someone like Nelson Mandela. It's almost impossible to imagine the crushing of the Nazis without Winston Churchill. It is impossible to think about, in terms of the United States, to think about the Republic without thinking about George Washington and his contributions. It's impossible to talk about freedom in America without mentioning Martin Luther King Jr. and the Civil Rights Movement. Now, these are people who in their time laid their contribution to the world. And even though we are hundreds of years removed from when they lived, and though we are tens of years removed from when they lived, their impact is still with us. It's as though they were living next door to us, because their ideas and their philosophies have not died. They, in fact, if anything, they are growing by the day. And every day, we are kind of rediscovering the reasons why the people lived their life the way they lived, the reason why they believed the things they believed, the reason why they did the things that they did. So as we take this message to the nations, we are noticing that it is sparking that expectation, it is bringing about an inspiration. And people are beginning to see that, well, you see, when you are given a post of responsibility, you have been given a permission to impact and to influence the people that are under your voice and under your care. And so as we send this message around the world, we are seeing that people are coming alive. Because you see, when you discover purpose and you begin to live purpose, you stop existing and you start living. You know, someone said that there are two important dates in the world, or two important times in a man's life: the day you were born, the first one, and the second one, the day you discover why you were born, because that changes the entire equation. So as we go around the world and talk to leaders, the funny thing my dear Cameroon, that might be interesting to note is that even people that are in leadership and leading nations, sometimes they don't even know why they are there. You know, of course, they know that they are minister in charge of that. Of course, they know that they are CEO. Of course, they know that they are manager or director, but they don't know why they are here. And because they don't know why they are here, that's why they can hurt other people by the way they are living, because they are not living their purpose. And by not living their purpose, intentionally, they are unintentionally hurting others by their living. And because they don't know who they are, they might be trying to live the life of another person else. And anytime you try to live another person's life, you see, you are bound to live in error, because that you were born to live your life. You are not born to live another person's life. You are an original and not a photocopy. So you are supposed to live life as an original. So who is the original Cameroon? Who is the original Madison? That is what this world is dying for. That's what this world is expecting. That in every nation, in every street corner, in every family, that everybody rises to become the agent of transformation by putting on the table of this life their effective contribution to the rest of the world. And so when we talk about, many times when we talk about leadership and transformation, when we say leadership and transformation, most of the times we just think about people that are in authority. Okay, the senators, the presidents, the ministers, the directors, the CEOs. Those are the leaders, right? But the truth is that each one of us was born to be a leader, because each one of us was born with a purpose that is unique and that cannot be replicated by someone else. So only you can truly lead your own life, so to speak, in the sense that there's nobody who can teach you to be you than you. There's no one who will live the life you are supposed to live for you. So each one of us, to a fair extent, are leaders. It's true that we have leaders that have been put in position so that they can help the community function better and become what the community is supposed to be, or the organization what it's supposed to be, the institution what it's supposed to be. But each one of us at our individual level are leaders. And when we live in such an intentional way to add value to the communities that we were born and the communities that we have been injected into, then we produce tangible results that nobody can deny.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what a great story that that I'm hearing. And just let me share with the audiences here that I was discussing with Dr. Madison, how the experiences of the country transformation could be brought into Bangladesh as well, because this is also one of my intention, I should say, and one of my mission as well. How
Yes.
how we can help together to transform the nations, and this is because this is what I feel that the inner call of my life as well. And I'm really eager to have your experience of helping nations that you are transforming, how to bring it in Bangladesh as well, in Southeast Asia, in Asia, because I think there is quite similarities as well between African nations and also Asian nations, and the challenges you have there, also the challenges we have here, quite a bit similar as well. The
Yes.
economics, the culture, the mindset, the education. So I'm really looking forward to have a collaboration with you in regard to the transforming the leadership of the nations. So this is one of my
So,
interests, and also sharing the other audiences as well. So what you are expert at it at
you
this
know,
particular subject.
Cameroon, you know what? I discovered
Mm-hmm.
that the problem of Africa
Mm-hmm.
is not silver or gold or the lack of oil or the lack of diamonds or the lack of human resources. In fact, in fact,
Mm-hmm.
we sit in Africa probably about 1/5 of the world's riches. Is resident in that continent,
Mm-hmm.
and that will be true also for the part of the world that you are in. But I think that our greatest problem is not that we don't have natural resources. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think that our greatest problem is that we don't have intelligent heads and all of that. I think that
Mm-hmm.
our problem is that we don't have the right kind of leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, like my dear mentor, Mr. John Maxwell says, everything rises and falls on leadership. If something has to be done, it will take a leader. If something has to be done, it will take somebody who would take upon themselves
Mm-hmm.
to want to do it. So one of the things, for instance, working in my own home country in Cameroon and working in other nations in Africa that I've seen is, just the understanding of what leadership is all about. So people believe that leadership is a position. Okay, so I am called president, so that is, I am a leader because I am called president.
Mm-hmm.
See, I am a leader because I'm director. I'm a leader
Mm-hmm.
because I am CEO.
Mm-hmm.
But I came to understand, and this is one of the things that we are doing is changing the mindset, thinking differently about leadership. So leadership is not a position. Okay. In fact, so many people believe that the position makes the leader, but rather it is the leader that makes the position. It's the leader that makes the position become important. The reason why we know that there is this position is an important position is what the leader does being in that position. And so one of the things we have been trying to do is to make people understand that just because you have a title doesn't make you a leader. Leadership is influence. Leadership is the ability to bring about a positive impact on the lives of your people. So every time I go to a government leaders and all of that, I ask them, so what is your impact on the life of your constituents? What will they say about you? Will they say you have given them a better life because of the fact that you have been called a senator in that area, or you now are a minister from that area? Will they be able to say that their lives have changed because of that? So if they are not being changed and transformed and becoming better because of that, then maybe you just have a position.
Yes. Mm.
That it's about influence.
Mm.
That it's about influence. it's not just you, imposing your agenda on the people. It is you being able to take the people's agenda and make that agenda happen for them. That is leader. That is true leadership. So I believe that it's not because our communities are poor. I believe that it's not because of the fact that we don't lack resources. I believe that it's because we don't know what real true leadership is and how we can bring that leadership to change the lives of our people agriculturally, to change the life of our people economically, to change the lives of our people politically, and to change the life of our people educationally. And so I think that probably one of the greatest issues that we need to do in our countries is to re-educate our the so-called, what we have now to be called so-called leaders, is a re-education. St. Augustine once said that the heart of education is the education of the heart.
Okay.
So many people have PhDs, many people have big, huge degrees, but the moment that, as long as our hearts stay uneducated and only our heads are educated, this world will be in trouble. But when our hearts become educated as our heads are educated, then there will be a congruence, then there will be an argument, and then we can change the world. Because many people are so knowledgeable here, but they are so bankrupt in their heart.
True.
And that is what is causing up the troubles in our country. They know so much, but the distance between the head and the heart, which is about maybe 30 inches, is becoming an issue. And so the problem is, all of us know that if you are a leader, you're supposed to do good to your people. But why is it that our people are not having the good? All of us know that we are supposed to participate in the transformation of our country, and that we are not supposed to sponsor nepotism and tribalism and all of that, and corruption. We are not supposed to do that. We know, everybody knows that, but why is it that we don't do it? The distance between the head and the heart. So we are talking about leaders. What we have been trying to do is come along leaders and just say, well, we are just your friend. We are also trying to lead our own very lives, trying to lead the lives of our families. And here are some of the things that we are trying out, in different areas, and it's working. Maybe you want to try this out. Maybe we want to try this approach of looking at things. And that is what has actually been able to yield fruits. Because we don't come like we are experts and we want to tell you how, leadership is all about. No. We're coming and saying, well, hey, these are the things that we have been implementing in our own families, and it's working. These are the things we have been implementing in our own businesses, and it seems to be working. Maybe you can try this. Maybe this can help to do something. And as people begin to listen to that carefully, they notice that it is the simple things of life that bring about the greatest transformation. The things that bring about the greatest transformation are not very, very complex ideas, but from metaphysics and all of that. It is the very down-to-earth ABC ideas of life. Those are the things that bring impact in a community. So that has been my experience, that that we have been moving. People are beginning to discover that a position does not make a leader, a title does not make a leader, and that it is actually the leader that makes that title whatever it is, and people are able to look up to them. We have been able to say that, well, like my great friend Mr. John Maxwell says, that if you are walking ahead and you turn around and you see people and people are not following you, you are not leading. You are just taking a stroll. You are just taking a walk. If nobody is following you, then you are not doing anything. And we're not talking about following you because you have a salary to give to them at the end of the month, because that means they're following a salary. They are not following you. They're not following you because, and then you can punish them, because it means they are afraid for a punishment, and they're following the consequences of not following you and not you. But we are talking about people willfully volunteering to go and to be able to make their life worth something, because they have seen the example that you emulate for them and the example that you set forth for them. So that is what we have been
Absolutely.
talking with the leaders in their communities.
As you have been working for the transformation of the society and the leadership of the society, when you go to to help them to understand, help them to realize their purposes of the leadership, what are the obstacles that you think that you face in the real life, while you are walking to different continents and different countries to transform the societies and the leadership? So
Oh,
what is the
well,
scenario?
I think the number
Embracing the
one thing,
thoughts. Yep.
I think the number one thing is the thinking. Again, the thought is that leadership is, you having authority over people, having the wherewithal to tell them what to do and to tell them what not to do, and to show them how big you are and then how small they are. So there's always this disconnect, this big gap, this chasm between the leader and his people. So the leaders try to make themselves more important than the people. They try to share, make the people understand that, the reason why they are leader is because it's like they earn something that the people can never come up to and they can never earn. And so they keep emphasizing on this, and the people literally worship them because they have become demigods wherever they are. And we are saying, oh, so the obstacle has been, the prevailing thought, the culture, that says that, okay, a leader is somebody who is high and mighty and you cannot have access to them. They are untouchable. They are never wrong. And if they are wrong, we'll have to blame it on something else. And so that is one of the things, the culture, the thinking has been a big obstacle. Of course, when you are talking about leadership, moral leadership, then there's also a challenge, because the people that don't believe in moral leadership don't want you to teach moral leadership. In other words, they believe, so they want you to stay at, your job is just to do this and this and this. They don't want you to call to question their motivation. See, what I have learned about leadership is that leadership calls the leader to responsibility. It calls the leader to accountability. In other words, what I do is not nearly as important as why I do it.
Yes.
That's something serious. See, because the impact that we will leave, you and me will leave in the world, will not only depend on what we did, but why we did it.
Yes.
See, we can do the same thing with different motivations and it will bring about different results. Okay, so it's another thing. Let me say, for instance, if I'm a political leader, okay, I can come and promise my people that I will build the roads, that I will build hospitals, that I will build community centers. But the reason why I'm telling them so is so that they can elect me. But I have no intention of really making their lives better. That's a disconnect. Even if I build the roads, even if tomorrow I do the hospitals, you see, my intention is something else. So there's a lack of moral leadership. And that has been one of the challenges, because you are not just doing something for the people so that they can keep you where you are. So in other words, you are not really working for them, you are working for yourself, because you are trying to keep yourself where you are, and you don't really care where the people are. And the only reason why you can even make them have a little tiny piece of something good is because you are trying to help yourself. So that kind of is that says that I am doing this for the good of my people. True leadership does not think about self. True leadership is about the people whom you are leading. So these are some of the obstacles, the prevalent beliefs, the moral leadership that is lacking, and these are some of the challenges that we have had, and we have been able to, share with the people, some of the things that we have tried in our own circumstances and situations, and have become helpful. You know, Cameroon, let me say this. One of the things that I do to grow my leadership is is to practice the things that I learn within my family context. So with my wife and my three
Mm-hmm.
children. Now, if I cannot model for my three beautiful children and for my wife what true leadership is, that leadership is about servants, being a servant, it's about servanthood. It's about serving the people with what they need. You don't serve people on your terms, you serve people on their terms. If somebody needs
Mm-hmm.
fish and you give them something else, then you are not serving them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so leadership is supposed to be seeking what do my people need, and how, given the abilities, the capabilities, the potential that I have, how can I therefore meet their needs from the things that I have learned, from the things that I have, from what is within my store and my potential? How can I therefore serve my people? So if you can do that within your family and do that successfully, then you are truly qualified to come out in the society and say, hey, I did it for three people at my home. I probably can try it for two or three more out here. And that is where I believe leadership happens.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. That makes sense. That makes sense. And today, the transformation is happening right in the society, in the leadership of the different countries. But you know, the way the transformation should be happening in the positive way, the intended way, the purposeful way of transformation. You know how far this is, like the reality versus the genuine intention of serving, the genuine purposeful leadership. You know, I mean, is the gap is getting widened day by day, or the gap is eliminating? What do you say?
Well, I would say I am a very hopeful person.
Mm-hmm.
I am someone who believes that uh, we were created for two things: to answer questions, number one, and number two, to solve problems. Every time we cease from answering questions and from solving problems, then we have lost our very essence of existence. And so I believe that because we are going to them, we are able to answer their questions, their fears. You know,
Mm-hmm.
now if I make everybody, if I serve everybody, will I become last because I
Mm.
am serving them? Those are the concerns that they have. Because like, what if I begin to serve everybody? Maybe these people will take me for granted.
Mm.
And so that's why they're trying to lord it over them, to know that, make them know that I am over you, I am your boss,
Mm.
because they fear that serving is a weak position to be in. When you are a
Mm.
servant, you are weak, because a servant serves a boss or serves somebody greater than themselves. But we are bringing a countercultural message which says that you become great through serving. I am a Christian, and one of the teachings of Jesus Christ is that the greatest among you shall be the servant. Because
Absolutely.
in the culture of the day,
Mm.
the leader was the one who was lording it over the people. And he said, but it shall not be so among you. The greatest shall
Mm.
be the servant. So as we begin to do this, I believe that it is beginning to cause, first of all, people to think about it. And as they think about it, begin to say, maybe this thing can work. Maybe, just maybe.
Mm. Mm.
And then at one point, when they practice it and it works, they say, oh, it seems like it can work in this situation.
Mm.
And as they try it in another situation, they say, oh, not only in that other situation, but in that other situation and this one. And as
Mm.
the days go by, they begin to see that this model of looking, or this way at this thinking about leadership kind of works. So I would say that as we go, we are beginning to see that it is changing. It is
Mm.
changing. It is changing people and the way that they think. And the reason I know it's changing is because I just came back from Cameroon. I'm from the nation of Burundi,
Mm-hmm.
and beginning August the 19th, I would be doing. I am mentoring, people that are in position of authority in those countries. I'll be doing a mentoring program for them for 6 weeks. 6 weeks, And that will be a time when they will begin to, where I begin to talk about some of these ideals in leadership, and how they can use these principles to transform their own communities. See, because I will not be there with them always. But if they can get these principles, understand them, and apply them in their own context, within their own families, within their own organization, their governments, they can bring about change. So we will be having a 6 weeks of mentoring on leadership, and then after that, I will be asking them, because that's one of the things I'm big about. I want to see what you are doing based on what we have been learning together, and what results is that giving to you. These are the things that these are the things I will be requiring to know from them, because if our learning does not impact our doing and our living, then it's of no use. It's of no use. Then our learning just becomes a way for us to puff up and to become proud, and not a way to serve. Our much learning should help us to serve more, because it is said that to whom much has been given, much is also required. And so our learning is supposed to bring about responsibility. It's supposed to bring about accountability to the people that we serve in our communities. So I would say that I'm seeing there is in fact, this is the way I call it. After my last trip, when I left my own home country, and based on the people that I met, and the meetings that we ran, I was telling one of my friends that there is a leadership revolution happening. A new way of thinking. A new way of thinking that says that if I am here for a reason, and that reason for which I am here, I would make sure I never go to my grave before I perform and make sure that I bring about that transformation that I want. So we are not talking about, so when we talk about leadership transformation, like I mentioned a while ago, it's more than looking to the government to do something. It's about it's a personal responsibility that we put on ourselves. Look at all of the leaders that have transformed our world today, and the way we think today. Whether you are looking at the Winston Churchills, or the Muhammad Gandhis, or the Nelson Mandelas, they never began by wishing that somebody else was different. They just were doing what they believed they were born to do, and then by so doing, the rest of us caught the inspiration. We gathered around them, we trusted them, and then they were able to help us to push an inch and bring about transformation. So I believe that there is a change happening. I believe that there is an undercurrent of a leadership revolution going on in the world. It's not a revolution of guns and nuclear bombs and all of that. It's a revolution that says that I was born for something. I would not die without having contributed positively to my community, without having contributed positively to my nation, without having changed my people. I am going to die with my contribution tangibly on the table, and that is what I commit to. So that I believe that a leadership revolution is happening in the nations as we go.
It's a wonderful story. So that's been a great breakthrough you have been doing to the African nations. So the perception to those African nations, like you said, like Ghana, the Rwanda, right, and then definitely Cameroon and Burundi. So if we compare the 5 years or 10 years earlier, the leadership, the perception about the outer world perception about those countries, and today the story that you are sharing, this success of mentoring, the government leadership, I would say it's a biggest breakthrough, isn't it? The accepting to take this forward, and accepting to understand this leadership, accepting to have the intended leadership, and to help this serving mentality.
I mean, just the fact that in these places they can accept our kind of message, to me, it's already a lot of success. because,
Absolutely.
like again, the message is countercultural.
Hmm.
This is not what we have known for years and years. And so, I mean, I don't expect to see the result in 2 hours or in 2 days or in 2 years. But, you know, like every elder revolution, it boils through the years. I remember a comment that Vladimir Lenin once made. He says that there are, he said, there are decades in which nothing happened, and there are weeks where decades happen.
Absolutely. Very powerful.
So leadership is a process. So I believe that as people begin to be transformed and they begin to entertain these ideas, that you know, change will come. We have, in terms of Lead Missions International and all of that, we have just been in this business now for 3 to 4 years now. So we don't know what was happening before that time, and but we just want to be able to give our own little tiny contribution to what is going on. But I believe that when we would have been able to do all of this, I believe that just the fact that you know, governments can open up doors and say, well, is there another way we can do things? Can tell us what you are saying. Oh, so you say that there is another way we can do things differently from what we are doing. For me, that is a breakthrough, because if that idea is not entertained at all, if they don't listen at all, then that's where there's utterly no hope. But if they are open to it, the idea, just to even listen, and then there's a potential in listening that people might begin to change the way they think. And in changing the way they think, they might begin to change the way they act. And so I believe that that would bring about the transformation. So I cannot say that there is a visible macro transformation, but I can tell from the micro level. And like I was telling you, when people, you know, stop everything else that they are doing, and they are saying, you know, they are going to listen to a tiny village boy from Africa, you know, encourage them about what they can do to bring about change in their life. I think that this is something big, because I am a nobody and they are somebody, but they are willing to listen to almost a nobody. Then I know that something is happening.
It's itself a revolution, and that is where I think the impact of intended living, the impact of purposeful life that you have designed in your mind, and that is the power of your mind. That is not this is not anything about the education, anything about the background, because should it be background or education, could have been the different stories. And that really encouraged me, and definitely encouraged and inspired at the same time, because I was looking forward to model someone and something somewhere, like who is doing the transformation for the country and helping the leadership to transform. And when I have heard about you and I have seen you and you are doing it, so it really now gave me hope. And through this program, I again invite you for the collaborations and for the work that you have been doing in Africa. So I invite you also to help, to help and come on with us and to help our nation and to transform and help and understand the serving leadership and help us to also to go to the next level. And I'm also willing to say that this country, the Bangladesh, has tremendous amount of potentials, because a lot of the people haven't heard about these nations probably, but the way our country is poised, the economy, the populations, and the resources, and the way the information technology is shaping the country, I think it's not the Europe or America in the next decade who is going to shine. Rather, it's some of the country from Africa and some of the country from Asia, which are which have the most potential, which haven't grown that fast, haven't grown that far. So I invite you and the world leadership as well, so that we can do something to see the transformation, real transformation, that could be from African nations, that could be from the Asian nations, which nobody thought. What do you think?
You know, this is now you are talking things that make provoke me. You are beginning to provoke me, because here is my belief. Here is my belief. The so-called Western world have given their contribution to this world,
Mm.
right? And even the ancient world in the Middle East, they have given their contribution to this world. I say to myself, as a son of Africa, I say to myself, as a son of Cameroon, that we are yet to see the contribution that Africa leaves for this world. And I don't want that Africa will go to the graveyard without having left a tangible contribution to the rest of the world. I believe that the so-called third world countries, it is because the world is waiting for our contribution, the Bangladeshi contribution to the world, the Cameroonian contribution to the world, the African contribution, the Asian contribution to the world. The rest of the world is waiting for what we bring to the table. And
Absolutely.
I don't want us to go into history as the only subcontinents or continents that whose contributions the world never experienced. I believe that we have in us, meaning the third world countries, meaning the developing countries, we have in us what it takes to transform the world. What we need is just a little enlightenment on the fact that, we have a contribution to make. That's where leadership becomes critical, because leadership makes things happen. Nothing happens without leadership. And I believe that with leadership, we will be able to bring about this revolution and this change that we need. So I believe in the destiny of the third world countries, because I come from one. I grew up when I was born in my little tiny village. We didn't have taps. We went and carried water from the stream in a little calabash, to bring it to my grandmother. When I grew up, we never had electricity. When we grew up, we never had tarred roads. But today, all of those things are true in the same village that I grew up in. I believe that we have what it takes to transform our nation, especially us coming from the third world countries. Because again, remember that, what is purpose to begin with? How do we discover purpose to begin with? Well, purpose is, that thing that makes us smile, that thing that makes us angry. We are angry about the corruption. We are angry that we are sitting on top of all of the world's natural resources, but we are nothing. We are angry about that. We are angry about the fact that we have a people, we have a population that the world should depend on. We have human resources that are under functioning. We are angry about that. That's not something to be proud about. But we also smile about something. There is potential in our people. There is hope in our people. All of the mishaps have happened to us, but has not crushed the human spirit. All of the terrible things have happened to us, but have not stopped us. As long as we can breathe, as long as we are alive, there is hope, and we are going to let that breath become our chance at the transformation of the rest of the world. We are going to let every breath that we breathe as a sign, that there is hope for our countries. So I believe in a Bangladesh that the people of Bangladesh want for themselves. I believe in a Cameroon where the dreams of the people truly get fulfilled. It may not happen in a day, never happen in any country in a day, but it begins with you, Cameroon. It begins with me, Madison. It starts with us. And that is why I believe Global Success Stories and Dream Valley is here for, to give a contribution to what is happening in our country. So I believe in the destiny of my country. Everybody who knows me knows that I believe in my country. I fly the flag of my country in my car. It's just something that it's just me. I believe that's how much I believe in my country. And I believe that I am part of the transformation of that nation. I don't look at it as it's a government's job, or it's the other people's job, or the rich people's job, or I didn't even come from that rich. I told you that I grew up from a village. I didn't grow up in the city, even though I live in the city today, or I live in in a first world country today or something like that. So so that is why I say with with great optimism that there is a revolution happening that is going to touch the nations, especially the developing countries. And I believe that it is something rising. Again, remember the Lenin principle. There are decades where nothing happens, but there are weeks where decades happen. So I am waiting for those weeks where decades happen. But there is the law of consistency. There's a lot of consistency happening. There's something building. There's a to the there is the dent that you make in bringing down the obstacle, in bringing down the barriers that are holding us back as a people. Every time you broadcast, I've been listening to you bring different people on the platform, so Jennifer or from Mashahead and all of that. I'm listening to each one of those people, and every time you make somebody think it is possible, you make a dent in that you make a dent towards looking for a solution for that problem. And I believe that you and me in the developing countries, we have to arise. Gone are the days where we used to look to the colonial masters to have a solution. I mean, history shows that colonial masters have never had any solution for anybody. You can never build a nation based on somebody else's idea. You build your nation based on what you feel on the inside is what is good for your own nation. And I think that our people have to arise and believe that we have in us what it takes to construct our nations. We have in us what it takes to do in a nation. We just need to find out what is our own contribution. If we are politicians, then our contribution will be political. If we are educationists, then our contribution will be education. If we are in the healthcare, then our contribution will be a healthcare kind of contribution. Each one of us is endowed uniquely by our God to bring about a unique solution for our nation. The question is, have we found that out? And are we positioning ourselves so that we can achieve that in our nations? That is the question. And that is why one of the reasons why my organization exists, because one of the things we come to do is ruffle some feathers and say, but what is your contribution to this country? You were born for more than just seeking food for your daughter and for your son and for your wife. You were created for a generation. This generation depends on us. And we have to live beyond just thinking about ourselves. That is what I personally believe. That each one of us was created to live for a purpose greater and mightier than we are. That it will take the Almighty God to fulfill that potential. And that is what I believe. And that will take working together with other people, like-minded people, to make this kind of thing come to happen. And that is what I believe is the promise for Bangladesh. And that's what is the promise for Cameroon or for Africa or the third world countries, as we call them. But I believe that there is a steering and there's a revolution going on. Not a destructive revolution, but a constructive revolution that says, I am a human and I am here for a reason. And I am going to make sure I do everything to leave my contribution and to leave my footprints on the sands of time.
Thank you so much. And I take your word. That's we're here to make our mark, to make our footprint visible, and let that visibility be impactful as well, to help the nations to transform. And that is my mission as well. That is the purposes of my life as well. How can I help the nations to transform? And that is the reason that we are talking. That is the reason we are spreading energy. That is the reason we are exchanging views. And probably we don't know how, but at least the universe, we have put the energies and thoughts the way you have been breakthrough several countries. And I hope that with your impact today, that you have been given, you have been connected, and you have been successfully been communicated the intentions, the influence in May to transform the countries, the nations. And I would take it forward to make a mark on this planet, on this earth, and to help these nations be prosperous, purposeful, and our leaders. And why not the entire world? If you and me and others can live purposefully, and I'm hopeful that we can make this world a better place. And together, this is the possibilities. This is the better days and brighter days and shiny days. This is coming. And through you, I'm just giving this message, this universe and this planet. Yes, we are here in this planet for a bigger cause, for serving, for making our mark, for making our footprint. Until we make it, let's not go to the graveyard, because we need to make ourselves empty, as Dr. Medicine was saying. I have taken all of this as a lessons. Yeah, we have to go to there as an empty, not wanted and not had a dream but could not. Let's the could not, would not, ought to be today. Let's make it today for our nations, for our generations. I thank you immensely. We could have been taught, continue this discussion probably hours, but we know that we have to carry something from here. Thank you, Medicine. One last thought from you, and then thank you all the audiences. Thank you all of your comments and all of your encouragement and support. I'm greatly indebted to all of you. And someday I wish to contribute in terms of serving all of you and the nations. Medicine, with your thoughts, I would conclude tonight's show.
Thank you very much, Cameroon, for having me on your show. It was a great thing to be connected with you. Definitely in the future, I'm going to be dragging you to Africa like you don't believe it. You can be sure about that. And I think our people love people like you. But this is what I want to say. I want to say that let us think about what we can do, each one of us within ourselves, to transform our own communities. Somebody said, do something lest you do nothing. Every time we don't do something, we end up doing nothing. Let us live for something. Let us do something. That is the encouragement I give myself. That is the challenge I give myself. That is the challenge I give you, my dear friend Cameroon, and it was wonderful to be with you. And that is the challenge I leave for everyone. Do something, lest you do nothing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My salute to your thoughts or your intentions, and everyone have a purposeful life, have an intended life, have an impactful life as well. God bless all of us. God bless you, and thank you so much for your time. I'm greatly indebted to you. I'm grateful to you. Thank you. Good night. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.